Oops. Welcome to Eviliv3, the live media commentary show that answers the question, can you really learn ninjutsu by watching movies? Is that like a thing? Just absorb it visually? Subscribe if you're new to the channel because today we are reviewing Paramount Pictures' Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. It's a lot of alliteration in that title. Probably a lot more than we need. So this is directed by Jeff Rowe. The screenplay was written by Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg, Jeff Rowe, Dan Hernandez, and Benji Samit. Budget of $70 million, and already it's made $118.4 million. It is incredibly popular amongst fans and critics. 97% fresh with a 91% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, and IMDb has it sitting comfortably at 7.5 out of 10. My review is slightly different, so let's just sort of walk through this. My initial thoughts. I'm a big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan from when I was a kid, like literally a little kid. First of all, it was the comics. I grew up in middle school like drawing out the different turtles. I always loved Michelangelo, but Leonardo was my favorite. And then, of course, in the 1990s, when the live-action film came out, it was the greatest thing ever. It was just the best. So we had the great cartoon series, we had the great comic run, we had the amazing live-action film, which had 2 sequels to it. I only saw the second one. I never saw the Turtles in Time one. I'm not even sure why. I just never got around to it. Anyway, and then they rebooted the Turtles a number of different times. I played a bunch of the different video games from the original Nintendo Entertainment System all the way through arcades. And it's just one of those IPs that has just been a lot of fun. And so when I heard Seth Rogen was doing a Turtles film, I thought this is going to be raunchy, this is going to be dirty, this is going to be like super bad with ninjutsu, right? I was wrong. I was really wrong. And I understand why people like this film, but the reasons why they like it are the exact same reasons I don't. So we're going to get into that here. This was actually Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross composed the score to this, which I never would have thought because I didn't even know the score existed. All I know are the pop songs that were popular, like the sort of gangster songs that were popular in the 90s, sort of the 80s and 90s, and then some like retro remix versions of better songs, like Lou Reed's Take a Walk on the Wild Side, remixed with some modern bullshit fucking lyrics and stupid ass performers fucking up what was a brilliant track. Anyway, this isn't a Lou Reed episode. And so, yeah, I mean, I just thought this was going to be amazing, and boy, was I fucking wrong. So the log line is, the film follows the Turtle brothers as they work to earn the love of New York City while facing down an army of mutants. Now, anyone that knows anything about me knows that I'm a stickler for canon, whether that's Star Wars canon or Fantasy Worlds canon. Anytime someone starts dipping their fingers into some older IP from my childhood, it seems like they are forced to change it irrevocably. They just have to completely ignore everything that came before and say, well, I'm just going to start from scratch and do it my way, my modern, progressive way. I don't normally care about that stuff, but sometimes it ruins the IP by doing so. I mean, famously, Disney ruined Star Wars with it. They ruined Willow with it. And now I've seen some other fantasy IPs that I'm a huge fan of slowly being eaten away because the authors that started that IP are now just ignoring all the canon that was built. And so if there's no consistency, if there's no semblance of what the film you originally liked was, why the hell are you remaking it? Why are you reimagining it? Why are you doing an original IP? Why are you doing something new that is not going to piss off the old school fans and is not going to bother the new people? Because let's be honest, no one was asking for another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film. After Michael Bay fucked that up, no one even wanted it. There was a really great Nickelodeon series in the 2000s that came out, the cartoon series, that I watched with my kids, and it was really funny, it was really entertaining, it was just a great iteration of the Turtles. And then they had an animated film that came out after that, which was also really great. But as soon as Michael Bay got his hands around it, he completely just transformed it. Like the Transformers IP. Of course, I hear the latest one is great. Anyway, so, I mean, ultimately, what you do with an IP is you honor it. But what they did with this IP, that the whole time they're saying, oh, we love this IP so much, and that's why we're coming to do our own film. Well, if you loved it so much, why did you completely change the backstory to everyone? Splinter, the rat, has a completely different backstory. How the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles became Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is completely different. April O'Neil is completely different. I don't mind that they're all younger and this is actually a teenage version of the characters. And I don't mind if you're going to change a character's ethnicity or if you're going to change the sexuality, as long as it serves the story and as long as it's steeped in the tradition of what this is, this comic and where it came from. And they completely fucking butchered it. So much so that there's no actual bad guys. The only bad guy is the Fly. And the Fly is Superfly. And it's not Baxter. Baxter created the Fly in this. So they're changing literally every single character. And so you would think, if they're going to do that, well, then they must have like the staple bad guys, right? Bebop and Rocksteady. Shredder. No, Shredder's not even fucking in it. He was originally in the script, but they wrote his ass out because they had different plans for a sequel for him, which they teased in the end credits scene, which is another thing I'm tired of. I don't want to have to sit through shit credits of a film that I didn't really enjoy that much just so I can see that there may or may not be a goddamn mid or end credit scene. Like, what? Marvel started this because they were creating an MCU. Now everyone has to do it, and it's annoying as shit because you never know if you should stay or if you should go. A little bit of, It's fucking stupid. So everyone at the end of the movie is looking on their phones to see, is there a post-credit scene? Is there a mid? How many are there? Could there be more than one? I don't know. Like, if you enjoyed the film, then yeah, sit around and watch the names scroll because you're showing appreciation and respect. But if you didn't, why the hell would you ever stay? It makes no sense. Okay, so Micah Abbey is Donatello, did great. Shaman Brown Jr. was Michelangelo, did great. Nicholas Cantu is Leonardo, did great. Brandy Noon is Raphael, did great. Everyone that was the Turtles was great. Then they had Jackie Chan as Splinter. And this was not Asako Modi's pet that watched Shredder like whip his ass and then cut his ear off. This is just a rat that was picked on because he's a rat by other humans. And so he found the turtles in this Baxter ooze that sort of, by a foiled attempt at some nameless villain to collect the ooze for her own diabolical purposes that were never really outlined. That's how the turtles accidentally fell into this ooze, and that's how Splinter got into it, because he was picking the turtles up. And that's the whole premise of the show, is just his family and the turtles trying to fit into New York as mutants, knowing that New York does not accept mutants. I would argue that they do, because most people crawling around New York are mutants. But I get the premise. It's very simplistic, and the whole purpose of this is so everyone can hold hands and be accepted. Everyone's accepted. And you know how I said those bad guys earlier? They're not bad guys. They're misunderstood, and they were being misled by Superfly, who is the only bad guy in the entire film. So Bebop and Rocksteady, two traditionally evil villains that are working at the behest of Shredder, are actually good guys, and they're working with the turtles, like all of the other nameless B versions of bad guys, except for Krang's not in this, so maybe they're saving that for a sequel too. It's so strange for me as a grown-ass man to be complaining about an IP that I didn't even think about except for a decade or two decades ago when the cartoon was airing with my kids, and then arguably 2 decades before that when I was a kid. So it's just strange that I even give a fuck. And I don't even know that I do give a fuck, but I do know that it bothers me when people completely profess their love and adoration of an IP and then completely change that IP. So there's two bad guys in this. There's the nameless woman who is trying to get the ooze and milk the turtles. Yeah, milk. It's like a running joke, but they even do the whole, well, I don't have nipples. How can you milk me? Joke from Meet the Fockers. And then the fucking... the fly guy, Superfly, who is really just trying to make more mutants so that he can be accepted. So he's not even really an overt bad guy, except that he just wants to exterminate mankind because mankind's humans are assholes, which, yeah, that tracks. We are. It's the most fucking absurd premise I could even imagine. And I can't imagine how the fuck this came out of... how this came at all out of Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. Like, this is not a hilariously funny film. It's not filled with adult humor. It's not anything except for teenagers talking over themselves because they thought that was more authentic as teenagers, because apparently teenagers are just fucking morons who just talk over each other. That's literally their explanation of why they did that. They had everyone in the sound booth at the same time, and they're just yammering at each other, and they're like, we did it because it was funny. Guess who I was impersonating? All I can say is Seth Rogen's shit does not land all the time, and this, certainly, for me, did not land. I remember watching it and going, okay, if I just ignore all the changes and I just accept the presented reality of this new version of this IP, is it still good? And no, it's not. It's not the changes that make it bad. It's all of the above that makes it bad. I mean, why? No one likes babysitting. No one likes walking through a high school or a middle school and just listening to teenagers yammer and talk their bullshit. In fact, that was a running joke about the Flash film that was put out, and everyone's saying, wow, the younger Flash is so annoying, and the older Flash finally understands how annoying he was. Yeah, except now we have 4 of them, all going at once, the whole film. I get if you want to be more authentic to the teenagers, but the fact is their brains are not fully developed. They're not. They're still works in process of human beings. They're not a finished anything. And so that's what made films like Superbad so goddamn funny. It was adult writing, adult humor. Yeah, really, that was adult humor. In kids' fucking mouths. That's why it's funny. And yes, it's juvenile humor, but it's a grown-ass men saying stuff like that normally, put in the mouths of teenagers, which, yes, they also say, but not on camera. And so it completely changes the dynamic. This didn't have any of that. I didn't understand it. And then the art direction, man, it's like they were trying to go with Spider-Verse sort of like wild, scribbly, illustrative style. And it just looks messy and lazy. It doesn't even look good. The humans' faces are all, like everyone's faces are distorted and twisted up and strange. So literally everyone looks like a mutant. So why wouldn't they accept the mutants when you look like a fucking mutant already? None of it makes sense. And then at the very end, all it takes is this high school girl, April O'Neil, breaking into a real newsroom and telling the New Yorkers that, look, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles aren't bad. They're trying to stop the giant, the big Superfly from destroying everything, which is a total ripoff of both Cloverfield and Godzilla somehow. So they're not bad. And so because a teenager said it on national TV, every New Yorker's like, you're right. They're all friendly and good. Let me go help them against this gigantic monstrosity. Like, the only reason why it's even remotely believable that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles could face off against the insurmountable odds that they're facing and stand up to these sort of extra-dimensional beings that they're regularly facing off against is because they're fucking mutants. Because they were taught ninjutsu by their master as kids. And like, that's the, it's like this absurd premise. Yeah, but that's why they do it and normal people don't. But in this version, yeah, everyone does it. And then at the end, the only thing the Turtles ever wanted to do was be accepted by everyone, check, and then go to high school. And so they go to high school, check. And they start the prom, and they're all happy, and everyone is friendly again, and no one's a bad person, and everyone's accepted, and everyone's equal. The most unrealistic version of high school ever created. It's the stupidest goddamn ending of any fucking film I've ever fucking seen in my entire fucking life. That's a lot of fucks. All right. But it wasn't all bad. So this is the 7th theatrical release for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It is a reboot, a complete reboot of the series, complete with new backstories, new changing canon and everything. So don't go into this as a fan expecting fan service, because you don't get it at all. It's completely different. Yeah, and how do they learn ninjutsu? Not from Splinter, from watching fucking movies. That's how they become ninjutsu masters, from watching movies. As we all know, I grew up watching Jean-Claude Van Damme, so I'm a martial arts master too, right? So Seth Rogen said that the film would heavily lean into the teenage element of the Turtles, and he said, as a lifelong fan of Ninja Turtles, weirdly, the teenage part of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is always the part that stuck out to you as the most. And as someone who loves teenage movies and who's made a lot of teenage movies and who literally got their start in the entire profession by writing a teenage movie, the idea of kind of honing in on that element was really exciting to us. I mean, not disregarding the rest, but really using that as a kind of jumping off point for the film. Well, one, they did disregard the rest, literally. And two, they didn't lean into anything other than the annoying aspect of teenagers. And everyone's a teenager in this. Oh, it's the worst. So Goldberg described the film as an overall being about a father, his 4 sons, and the importance of family. A major theme in the film is acceptance. The only thing in this film is acceptance. And I would say that's toxic. Why do you need to fit in with everyone else? Why do you have to be an easily led automaton and just be a sheep, walking in everyone else's footsteps, being the same as everyone else? I thought Western culture was about being an individual, about being apart from the herd, about letting your own individuality shine. But in this new generation, apparently it's all just about wanting to be like everyone else. I don't understand it. It's beyond my mental capacity to understand. I don't know anyone who wants to be like everyone else. That's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. And part of going along with that is acceptance by everyone else. You should not measure your self-worth based on what others think of you. You should measure your self-worth based on your own objective perspective and self-audit of who you are as an individual, which you cannot effectively do as a child because, again, drumroll please, your brain's not fucking developed yet to understand that. What are we telling kids? The only version of acceptance is to be like everyone else and to do things that everyone else does? No! Be you! That's what makes you great, is that you're not a fucking robot. All right. In July 2023 interview, Rowe expressed interest in returning for a sequel featuring the Shredder. Later that month, it was reported that a sequel and a 2-season 2D animated television series for Paramount Plus is in the works. Don't care. After watching this, I'm not going to watch it. It's like, and the worst part is I'm a fan, but not of this, because this is not Turtles. And I've watched all of the other cartoon versions of this, all the other film versions of this, even the shitty Michael Bay ones. They at least connected with the lore and the IP and the history of it, the canon, if you will. This throws all that out. And like it's fucking the last day of school and you're just throwing your books and pencils and shit and running off to do whatever fucking crazy version of the film this is. It just doesn't make any sense. And it boggles my... I understand why. And this is why at the very beginning I said, I understand why everyone is championing this, because it's the exact same reason why I'm not. It's because everyone is accepted in the end. Everyone is happy in the end. Nothing is wrong in the end. And even the turtles are part of high school now. Bebop and Rocksteady, the bad guys, are actually good guys. Everyone's a good guy, so everyone can be accepted and loved equally, because that's what life is all about. Equality, right? No. Not even our country is about that. Our country is about equality of opportunity, meaning you got to work with the basis that exists in the infrastructure of this fucking country. Not, hey, everyone, grab your, Turtles bandana and let's all hold hands, sing Kumbaya together because there's no bad guys. Everyone's good. Everyone's loved. Everyone's equal. Yay. Fuck off. All right. So, Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has been greenlit, which is the series. Rowe is set to return to direct the sequel. Don't give a fuck. And Point Grey will produce both the sequel and the series. Don't give a fuck. This sucked. It was just not the Turtles at all in any semblance, except for the fact that there are, in fact, 4 turtles. Shredder was originally in the film, but was written out because Jeff Rowe wanted the film's villain to be a mutant that shared empathy with the turtles and who could easily tempt or corrupt them, which we never saw them corrupted. They just sat around, listened to his spiel, and they were like, I don't really want to do that, though, so should we not do that? That was it. And then, because they said it out loud, all the other bad guys were like, yeah, we don't want to do that either. I want to be a good guy. Okay. The Shredder does, in fact, appear briefly in a mid-credits scene. So my favorite part of all of this are, in fact, the turtles just fucking around. Not going on the missions, not the animation, not any of that. Just the turtles interacting with each other. I thought that was kind of funny, though, again, the dialogue, because they are intentionally talking over each other, is frustrating and annoying. My least favorite part is the fact that there are no bad guys. The Superfly is just misunderstood. There's no bad guys in this. You can't have a good guy unless there's a bad guy. And it's just so frustrating to see the typical bad guys being the good guys. And they're all working together with all of the humans to defeat the Godzilla. Ugh. Hey, man. You asked him for his favorite part to give 10-year-old's point of view. He said when Mr. Beast showed up. I don't even know who the fuck that is. I don't remember a Mr. Beast in this show. I don't ever remember any of that. My wife was like, yeah, there's a YouTuber named Mr. Beast who is in this show. And I was like, okay, I don't remember seeing anyone named Mr. Beast. I don't remember hearing anyone's voice that sounded like that. She was like rattling off the actors that contributed to this. I didn't get the impression of anything except for shitty teenagers talking over shitty teenagers. Like, that was the whole goddamn film. So fucking annoying because I love this IP. Stop changing the goddamn canon of IPs. If you really love it, leave it the fuck alone. I just don't understand it. Fuck. So because of that, I'm giving it 3 evil eyes. I gave it 3 instead of 1 because it is the Turtles, even though it's a completely different version of the Turtles. And though I didn't connect with the message that it was sending, and there is a very clear, potent message, I had fun. The action was fun. The animation wasn't good, but the action was fun. And you can tell this is very derivative of this time in this moment. I got home and I put in the 1990s live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle film because I was excited. I was sort of like on a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles high. You know, that what I watched in the theater, this film is not Turtles. And so I wanted to watch something that was. And it holds up. It's all prosthetics. It's all practical effects. And yeah, it's of the time, but it holds up. This film will not hold up over time. It is way too much of this generation forcing the idea that everyone should be a clone of everyone else. And I don't like that message. I believe in individuality, and I believe our individuality is what strengthens us and actually empowers us to be individuals rather than herd fucking members, easily led automatons. I just don't agree with that message, and I don't like them spreading it. And of course, they're going to make the sequel and they're going to have the series. And, you know, I wish them the best of luck. It's just not for me. That's really all it comes down to, is not for me. So ultimately, that's that. Let me know what you guys thought of this. Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy it because of the message, or did you enjoy it because of the animation or just the voice acting, or what was it that you connected with? Am I way off base? Does it matter when people completely change an IP's backstory and canon? Is that what makes an IP? Or is it just the character names that make the IP? Because all the characters are different in completely different ways, except for the core four. Everyone else is completely different, even Splinter. Let me know in the comments below. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. And as always, remember that evil spelled backwards is live. So get out there, don't be a clone of everyone else, and be evil.